Hi guys, Angelo Cisco from O'Hare CrossFit, giving you some initial thoughts on 16.2. A lot of initial thoughts, as you could see. Really interesting workout, kind of throwing curveball or just kind of balancing out the field from last week. I'm not going to bore you on all the details of it. 4-minute clock, 8-minute clock, 12-minute clock, 60-minute clock, 20-minute clock. It's much different than we've done in the past with the thrusters or with the overhead squat where you get that rest. So the clocks matter, should I say, as far as if you could advance, but as far as the workout goes, you're just going to keep trying to move throughout this. I really don't see the clocks being anything more than just seeing if you could advance to the next level. So let's talk about this. One, nutrition. I think you really need to focus on having a relaxed gut here. Obviously, you've got a lot to do, a lot of toes to bar, a lot of things like that. You don't want your stomach bubbly or anything like that. So just make sure you eat 2 to 3 hours before, something that you're used to eating, nothing to really upset your stomach. If you're a pre-workout kind of person, just make sure it's something you've really used before and it's not going to upset your gut. The setup, I drew my best version of a diagram here. This is the bar, or this is the toes to bar, the rig, barbell, jump rope. I think this is a nice, really good setup here, something nice and close. Obviously, if you want some chalk or anything like that, that should be in there. One thing also too about this that's really cool is you could have somebody add your weights for you this year instead of you having to move them around, which is really different, which is also going to keep you moving. So make sure you have somebody there to do that. As far as gears goes, knees, sleeves, I think definitely you need grips in this workout. Those of you that are going to be completing this workout, you're going to be getting up to 125 toes to bar. I couldn't think of anything worse at rep 65 of the toes to bar that you rip your hands. So I think grips, whatever grips that you like to use is fine. I prefer the leather grips, and I'm going to go into a little detail why I think if you're used to them, you should use them. But if you use the natural grips or anything already like that, just rock with it and do what you're used to. Your jump rope, I would even consider, just because I am so obsessive compulsive, having an extra jump rope near you just in case something happens to your one jump rope. I couldn't think of anything more aggravating if I was a regionals athlete and I couldn't get out of the frame, then somebody would have to go and get me a jump rope. Just a little precaution, and I'd rather be safe than sorry as far as that goes. Belt, when the weight gets heavy, we saw Dan Bailey putting on belts and everything like that. If that's where these loads need to be for you, I would recommend having a belt nearby that you could add on pretty quickly, something that you can move on and off that isn't a big pain for you. As far as shoes goes, could you do this in oldies? Absolutely, yes you can. Do I recommend that you should do them in gym shoes? Yes. As long as you're used to cleaning relatively heavy percentages of your max in gym shoes, I would go with it. Just for comfort level one, oldie shoes add a little weight to your feet, so when you're doing toes to bar, not everybody's really proficient at double unders in their lifting shoes, so I would go with gym shoes. One little side note, add a nice little double knot, just in case that thing comes out, you're just easy going and it's still tied, you don't have to think too much about it. Wrist wraps, if you're used to just cleaning heavy in wrist wraps, I think it's just going to go down to a matter of comfort and what you're used to. For mobility here, upper back, T-spine, shoulders, a lot of this action with these toes to bar. Obviously the maker of this workout for most people is going to be their ability to get through the toes to bar. So you need to make sure that's really open to. One thing I didn't write up here, but it's something I just thought of right now. A lot of athletes have issues in their kip and all that in that arch position, not only because of their upper back, but because this anterior part of their pec minor and all up here is a little tight. So make sure that you take care of that, some crab holds, things to open up this position. Next thing I would take a look at is your front rack. Obviously, you're going to be doing a lot of cleans. You want to have a lot of room coming out of that. Obviously, when you're doing all the toes to bar, your lats and stuff like that is going to get smoked. So I'd stretch them out a little bit, doing some hangs, some pushes, maybe even just foam rolling all through your lats and just things like that. Squat mobility, I'm not going to go over a squat mobility with anybody. You guys should all have a decent idea of what you're doing for that. Just make sure you go through all the motions and things of that nature. Make sure that's ready to go. Last but not least, I would even consider doing this first, your wrists and forearms, right? You're going to be getting smoked on your grip, right? This is toes to bar, then it's double unders, and then it's those heavier cleans and things of that nature. I would make sure that my wrists and forearms are completely mobilized. I'm working all the different positions in my wrists. I wouldn't want anything to feel tight or junky here, considering I'm going to be relying on this for the majority of the workout. As far as activation goes, I would think about doing some scap pull-ups just to make sure you're nice and tight, you're ready to retract that shoulder when you need it. Serratus pull downs, I talked about these last week. I'm a big fan of these, especially in this motion for doing toes to bar and activating this. So just get a band set up nice and tight, activate it, just come down like this. A lot of athletes or a lot of people used to do this in the bodybuilding for like that lat kind of pullover machine. I really think it's really good for this kind of workout, especially with the toes to bar. I would work on doing some skater squats. A skater squat is just a really good activation for your glutes and your positioning on your squat, just to get your knees kind of mobilized and everything centered and balanced. So I'd work on those. Also, I would add some banded monster walk just to make sure your glutes are firing well and all that's loose back there, just because you're gonna be doing a lot of toes to bar, a lot of things of that nature. So I'd want to make sure my posterior chain is ready to rock. The warm up, pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward. I practice some jumps to hollows, some strict toes to bars, and some kip swings, just to make sure that I'm in these positions. The jump to hollow, just making sure that you're under a bar and you're feeling that position. One also side note too, if you're thinking about what bar you should do this on, it should be a bar that you can take one little jump and get to, not something too high and something that's gonna just waste your energy trying to jump really high, especially when it gets to the later rounds and you're gonna have to be breaking these toes to bars up even more. Strict toes to bar, I think warming up anything in the strict position is really good before you do it in the kipping position, just to get that range of motion and that understanding of compression, just so you're not relying on such a huge kip just to get to the toes to bar. For the cleans, I would warm up to maybe the third or fourth round. Nothing too heavy, nothing too heavy on the volume once you get past the first round weights, maybe the second round weights. I just want my body to kind of feel what's happening. Also too, I'm a fan of working up that heavier weight, and then when I drop down to that 135 or 85 in that first round, it's gonna feel a little bit lighter for my nervous system, so I think it's also a really good advantage. I don't think you really need to worry about going too deep into the weights, especially if they're really taxing in high percentages. If you're max, last thing you need to do is wreck your nervous system before you even start the workout. Pacing strategy. Toes to bar, I hate to say this, but it kind of depends, but I really was so amazed, and I don't know, I was kind of shocked, honestly, how long they went unbroken on the announcement today. I would say going 2 to 3 sets from the beginning is not going to cause you that much of a deviation in time, especially if you're like going only 2 sets. A lot of you guys that are especially regional athletes, you need to think about this is a 20-minute workout again. This is a 20-minute, 5-round workout where the weights are going to go up in the cleans and the volume's going to go down in the clean. But you need to really prepare yourself for that. And if I was going to do 125 toes to bar, I do not know if I would do them in that big a sets. So pick what's best for you, but kind of look at it from that big picture perspective. If you're not the athlete that's going to make it to this round or anything like that, just break it down in that sense that you're going to make it to here and just try to go for it. And I would rather me try to put a big set together when I needed it towards the end of my rounds versus me just giving it away too early. The double unders, I think this is where a lot of athletes need to be really dialed in with their double unders as far as position and breathing. Just unbroken, nice, smooth double unders. We're going to talk a little bit more about position when we get there, but a lot of athletes try to rush through these double unders, and in reality, I think that's when a lot of people are going to get smoked. Clean singles from the beginning, no doubt about it. Save your grip as much as you can. I think that's such an essential part of doing this workout. Some things to consider. Leather grips to make coming on and off easier. So I'm a fan of the leather grips because if you're here, then you get done with the toes to bar or you get done with the double unders, you can flip them around for the cleans, then you can flip them back. If you haven't messed around with them or anything like that, I would suggest sticking with what you know, but that's why I would recommend those leather grips if you haven't. As far as like the Olympic lifting shoes, I wrote it there. The more I thought about it, like if your double unders are okay with lifting shoes, I guess you could wear them if that's something where it's going to be a real limiter for you in the clean. But I wouldn't mess around with them too much if you're not too good with them as far as like the lifters. I would consider just the gym shoe. Toes to bar, your ability. I think you need to like really understand this ability and how to break these things up. Hopefully you've done some longer volume workouts leading up into your training for the opens, and you kind of have a really good idea of where you need to be with these toes to bar. Okay. This is a midline smoking workout, right? So you got toes to bar, you got double unders, and then you're gonna do some heavier cleans. I really think a lot of athletes in the earlier rounds are going to be really unfocused on keeping control in their midline, especially their lower backs when they're doing the cleans off the floor. I want everybody to really consider how well you're doing the cleans at the real light weights, just because you don't want your lower back to get smoked and you don't want to blow too bad of a position in these lighter weights, and then when you get to heavier weights, you're just not able to retract and stay nice and tight. So as far as, like I mentioned, overall pacing, think about where your goal round is. If you're a regional or games athlete, you're thinking this is a 20-minute workout, judge your pacing and how you break things up off that. Double unders, arms relaxed, posture, just kind of hum. So you gotta just stay as relaxed as you can. Hopefully you've been working on this kind of position pacing for these double unders where you're almost just breathing, just nice and steady. They don't need to be these fast racing ones. Really focus on the shoulders staying back, relax your arms, they're just hanging out here and just chilling out, all wrists, really good tall posture. You don't want that to start fatiguing too early. If you need to break up the double unders for some reason in the later rounds, I can understand that, but you don't want to break things up because you're getting smoked. You want to break things up to preserve yourself. Really make sure that you're knowing the difference in who you are as an athlete. The belt. They started wearing the belt, I believe, in the 275 clean, so their fourth round. This is going to be dependent on everybody else and how they operate with that positioning. Some of you hopefully have trained with a Velcro belt that you could adjust really easily. If you have, that should be no problem when you want to take it on or put it off. If you have a leather belt, it's going to be a little bit different strategy. Just keep it close, just so it's not that big a deal and it's not an excuse when you're trying to start doing your cleans. Like, put the belt on, grab some chalk, and just do your thing. Make sure that you're not playing with your belt as a reason to slow yourself down in the workout. Know your battery. I think this is really important. So this is obviously for a lot of athletes. I mean, this is going to be a creatine phosphate battery workout. How can you recharge to make those cleans, especially when you're getting in these heavier weights? Boom, how much time you need, how much time you need, how much time you need. And this also goes back into your year of training or 2 years of training or how long you've been training for, that you could really understand this with confidence. So hopefully you've had something implemented like this in your training, but knowing this, knowing when you could take a breath and hit 80%, and then take a breath and hit 80% when you're doing these clusters and things like that in your training is so important, because when you know your battery, you know when to push it, when to back off a little bit and things of that nature. So hopefully you've been putting some of that in your training so you know exactly how long you need in between each of these cleans, especially when they get heavy. Last but not least, the double unders, the tiebreaker time. If you are going for 5 rounds in this workout, you need to realize that you're not going to have to worry about that tiebreaker to the last round. So don't worry about trying to rush through all that stuff, the double unders and the toes to bar, in my opinion anyways, in those earlier sets if you're playing the long game, because this is where your tiebreaker time is really going to matter. So just make sure that you're really aware of that and not to get caught up in anything like that and outpace or move faster than you're supposed to. I know this was a mouthful. This is a whole lot of stuff going on, and I know I left a lot of depends and things like that, but this workout really comes down to where you are in your strength, your battery, and also too, obviously with doing all these toes to bars, where your gymnastics is at. So just try to think about how you could vary this workout up, or how you should break this workout up, what's best for you, and kind of where you're hoping to go. So if you're 4 minutes, you're going to try to get through the 135s, then you might just have to go for broke on the toes to bar and things of that nature, and pick things accordingly. Good luck, guys. If you have any questions, email me, Angelo@O'HareCrossFit.com. Really excited for this one. I think this is going to be a really good test. It's going to even out a lot of the field, especially from last week. Look forward to seeing you guys. See you next week. Thank you.